Hello everyone and welcome to another Feed Army video. My name is Emmanuel and today we will talk about how does Google evaluate your account when you are suspended in Google Merchant Center. So have you ever wondered how that really happens and how that Google evaluates your business behind the scene? Well, while the exact process remains somewhat opaque, our experience and analysis suggest that Google employs a rigorous evaluation system that closely examines various aspects of your online presence. So the two pillars of evaluation based on something that is already in existence, which is the local feeds. So based on public available insights, Google's assessment of local feeds appears to hinge on two primary categories. So the summary issues, so the overall snapshot of your business data, and then the feed issues detailing aspects that affect your information, how it is presented. And each area is measured against a minimum performance threshold. If your current performance falls below these benchmarks, corrective action becomes necessary. So this is a hypothetical example of a Google Merchant Center suspension. Although we can't share the actual evaluation files, consider this illustrative example model on how suspensions might be reviewed. So this is both by Google's bot and manual reviews. So if we have a look here, for example, the summary, we have the description, so the business address, is it authentic? Is it real? Is it possible that the business is on that location? In a lot of cases, for example, that will be 0%, 9%, and the minimum requirement is 95%. So you need to investigate and check what that needs to be. Does the Google Merchant Center address match that of your website and all publicly available data? Yeah, that matches, so okay, good, that passes. And now what about third-party verification? For example, a lot of people do not consider BBB or Facebook as a valuable source to be verified. For example, think about it like this. If you're verified on Facebook and BBB, then the likelihood that you're a genuine business is much higher than if you would not have that. So therefore, it is recommended to have third-party verification. Of course, not everything is required, such as, for example, Twitter. If you're using that, then of course that is not as high of a verification than if you would use BBB. And now let's have a look at the second category, which is, for example, the feed issues. So if, for example, you have resolved all your warnings, great, your report is 100 and recommended is 80%, and that is good. Because warnings are not really crucial to account accuracy, errors are. So for example, if you've submitted invalid product identifiers, then of course that will be a 0 or 50% report, and then you need to have at least 100. So that means resolve all errors wherever possible. Sometimes people are not really aware. Sometimes the errors might not show when you're suspended. So make sure to check your data, check the Google Merchant Center policies, and compare what is wrong. So then you have, for example, also the website issues, which is also very important. So for example, a very common issue is that availability is missing. Most merchants say, well, I listed on the website, merchants should know, consumers should know that it's in stock. Well, that's not really the case. You have to treat a consumer, for example, as a baby. Back 15 years ago, one of my bosses said, when you're designing a website, design it as if your consumers are babies not knowing how to navigate your website. And that is the same for your e-commerce website, now for Google Merchant Center. So ensure that, for example, you're adding in stock or out of stock, literally those two words, or even pre-order or back order, if that is something you offer as well, that is on your website. Don't assume that consumers know if an item is in stock or not. And this is one of the biggest issues I see all the time. I would say nearly 80% nobody adds this info, while it is a requirement on the Google Merchant Center landing page requirements. And then, for example, another common one is missing policies. So if you don't add all the required policies, or they're incomplete, or they're, for example, using templates and you're just copying and pasting things, and they have lots of information that are not applicable to your business. And that is also a requirement to ensure that the policies are not talking about, for example, t-shirts when you're selling canvas art, for example. So make sure everything is correct. Now, this is just an example. There are literally 100 to 200 topics that, for example, I check when an account is suspended. It's a big task, so it's a lot of different things that you need to look at. And it's not about just following, for example, a checklist. You also need to have the understanding of all historical policies. For example, let's say, I think 6-7 years ago, dropshipping was not allowed. However, Google then changed the wording so that dropshipping is allowed, and you just need to make sure that the stock can be verified as in stock. And that's why, for example, you would not know that it is a historical requirement that can play a role into how policies are written now and how you should portray your website now. And that is then basically how Google evaluates my guess. Now, of course, I'm saying that this is not how Google does it, but because it's based on an actual file which is for local feeds, that they actually work this way. So they really look at every aspect, and then you need to improve, or you get a pass on those specific topics. So I wouldn't be surprised if Google Merchant Center suspensions work exactly the same. So that is why a comprehensive approach matters. Google's suspension process isn't about isolated issues. Since the exact reason for suspension are often not explicitly disclosed, it's crucial to tackle every potential area of weakness. Ignoring even a single facet might leave your account vulnerable for a suspension. So even if you're not suspended, it is good to be proactive, and always every, I would say, half a year to a year, proactively check everything that you are compliant, because new policies always appear. For example, even if you are approved and you want to improve your data feed ranking, new attributes are also available, or new features such as annotations as well. So being on top of that is, of course, very difficult. So it is important to stay on top of all these little things, and you can follow Google's official guides as well, and policies. Now, the issue is that all these policies and guides are not always shared by Google in the exact same way, so it's quite difficult to stay on top of this. So it is good to, proactively check the videos, check some guides from Google and newsletters and etc., because everything kind of changes. Now, if you have a question, feel free to leave a comment downstairs, and I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.